Hey guys, so just thinking a little bit more about triads. I know the last time we talked, I was talking specifically about some blues triads here, and I know I primarily play blues, and I think the blues are just a phenomenal way to learn music and to look at music, so a lot of what I play is around that. But today, coming at you talking about the other document I have, links below in the Google Drive, you can check that out. Just talking about triads a little bit here in a more major, minor, diminished, augmented kind of context. So triads are a phenomenal way to map out your fretboard, to visualize your fretboard, to visualize when you're soloing, when you're playing things. Now, I'm not all the time, as you can hear, not all the time just playing the triad. That has a sound. It's kind of a cool thing. It's a way to map around, right? Those arpeggios, and it's something you should know. But to me, the triads are a way to look at chords, map out my fretboard, and know kind of where the home base is, and then play licks around that, right? I mix a lot of minor pentatonic in there, some major pentatonic. You know, try to stick to that for this, what I was just playing. But I'm starting to incorporate more things, like even when I get into, you know, half whole diminished, or looking at Lydian dominant, things like that. I'm not necessarily thinking completely scales all the time when I'm soloing. And this is just my approach. This isn't necessarily the only way to look at things, but just food for thought, right? As you're looking at different ways to apply soloing and improvisation. So in the document, there's several different triads on different string sets. So you'll notice it starts off with 3-2-1 string set, G, and then G minor 7 flat 5, implied, right? Obviously there's no 7 in that, but then a G augmented. Then it goes to the strings 4-3-2, goes to D chords. There's some other scales and things we can talk about. But I just want to kind of start on these triads and what to think about with these triads. So the first part is you want to understand what a triad is. What is a triad? So a triad is, as it kind of lays out, is 3 notes, right? 3 notes played together that form a chord. On guitar, we play them, you know, across 3 different strings at the same time. If we play them separated, it's technically an arpeggio. If we strum them all at one time, stack them on top of each other, that makes a chord. And how do we know what those are made of? Well, this gets into a little bit of music theory, and I can do a super deep dive. If someone, you know, would like for me to, I can do that. But it's based off of what we call intervals, stacking intervals together. And an interval is simply the distance between 2 notes. So on the guitar, this lays out really nicely for us. I'm going to start from this 3rd fret here on the 1st string. I can look at frets in terms of what we call half and whole steps in music. So half step above would be 1 fret. So from the 3rd fret to the 4th fret. That's an interval of 1 half step. If I play the 3rd fret to the 5th fret, that's an interval of 1 whole step. So 2 half steps make a whole step. Right? And so what we're doing is we're stacking intervals on top of each other. So what we're playing is we're stacking a root note, and then we're stacking a 3rd, which is 2 whole steps away from the root. 1 whole step, 2 whole steps. So that note right there, the 7th fret on the 1st string, is actually a B. So we've got G here, and then B natural here. What I'm doing from there is then I'm stacking the 5th on top. I mean, we can talk about scales and all that in another video, but quickly here, if I'm stacking a 5th on top of that, that would be 1.5 steps above the 3rd. So let's see, I'm doing 3 half steps. The 7th fret to the 10th fret. That note is D. D. So if I stack G, B, and D together, that will give me a G major chord, or a G major triad, in this shape right here that I'm looking at. So on the 3rd fret and the 4th string, I've got my B note. On the 3rd fret on the 2nd string, I've got my D note. And on the 3rd fret on the 1st string, I've got G. So playing those 3 together creates harmony, nice major chord here. And that gives me a G major triad. really technically a G major chord. So if I go from these notes, you notice that the B is the lowest note in this triad. Well, I can move and rearrange those notes around, and I can come up here to this triad shape that you see in the document, the second one. And now I've got the D on the bottom, the G next, and the B up top. And if I go to the next one, I've got G on the bottom, B next, and then D up top. So that's where you've probably heard the word inversion. So what we're doing is, technically, we'd really like to see G be on the bottom, right? G, B, and D. That would be root position. When we go with the B on the bottom, what we've done is we've rearranged it, right? We've taken G, put it on the top, and then put B on the bottom. We've got first inversion. And then when we have the D on the bottom and the B up top, we got second inversion. It's kind of nice, interesting to hear it that way. So I think that gives a really nice perspective, just a foundation there for triads. So there's some basic music theory there that you can take for free, and we can dig into that a little bit, another video if you guys would like to. But looking at that document, how to read that, you see I've got the 4 different triad shapes there. I've got going like this. And you'll see that around some of the numbers there, some of the notes, there are parentheses. What I do is I put the parentheses around the root note. So you see the parentheses around here. Right? And what that's doing is that's highlighting where the G is. Right? So the cool thing about the guitar, we talked about in the last video, is that the guitar is a pattern-based instrument, meaning that we can move these same shapes, and depending upon where our root note is, will tell us what the new triad or the new chord is. So for example, my root note for this shape, this very first shape, is on the first string on that 3rd fret. Well, if I move that shape up to, let's say, the 8th fret, I'm playing the same exact shape with my fingers, but now the notes have moved, right? So it's no longer a G triad, but what I've got now is, based off of this, I have my C being my root. Well, that's now a C major triad because I can trust that this is a G major one, right? So we can trust that if the intervals are the same, based off of where it's moved on the neck and the new notes that are sounding, I've got G here, C here, right? And so those notes are C, E, and G. So all that's doing is that's giving my brain a shortcut. My fingers know where I know where to place my fingers, right? And I have a shortcut. Playing the same exact shape, but now I've got a new chord. So, how does that help me when I'm improvising, Adam? The way that I look at this is I look at it as places that I can put my fingers and play little licks, sometimes either built off the triad. For instance, you saw me play this one. This is a really common blues thing. Sliding up from the flat 3rd, or making it minor, right? Into the major 3rd. And then playing that first string. So see that there, I'm kind of combining a little bit of some of that triad shape that I gave you guys in my last video, right? But what I'm really looking at it as from there is that minor pentatonic shape that we all know. And what I'm doing there is I'm mixing minor sounds in with the major chords, the dominant chord, really. That's how John Mayer, Eric Clapton, Stevie Ray Vaughan, all the blues greats are doing that. They're mixing that major and minor and really focusing on that 3rd. Right? See how just sophisticated, quote unquote, that makes your playing sound, right? All play minor pentatonic licks, It's a great thing. It's a cool thing about the guitar. It's part of the vocabulary and the heritage of the guitar. But the more we can incorporate kind of outlining those chords, you can really hear those changes. And so I specifically played at the beginning, you know, a little free form, I guess, but still trying to keep with the changes, right? My goal was to help you hear without a backing track, without any kind of other music playing in the background. You can still hear those changes, hopefully, going through, right? And when it's time for the 5. So really highlighting those notes. Right, so 5 to 4 there. Really highlighting those notes helps just really make your solos stand out even more. It makes you sound, you know, just like you really are in tune with the changes and following the changes around. So I hope this helps. I hope this gives you a little bit of insight into this. I will keep throwing some more lessons up over the next week and give you guys some more ideas. But hopefully that document helps. We'll dive a little bit more into minor, augmented, you know, minor 7 flat 5, looking at those different triads too. If you're liking these videos, you know, leave me a comment what you're liking, what I can do better. You know, would love to. I just love to share, right? So I've you know, done the college thing with music, and some of it's great, some of it's just, you know, may not align with your goals, but for me, I just love sharing knowledge of music. It's just my thing. I've always enjoyed that, and hopefully you're getting some out of these videos. So leave me a like, leave me a comment, let me know what you're thinking. If there's anything specific you'd like to know, or, you know, I could deep dive on, give me a shout. But we'd love to hear how these are working out in your playing. Otherwise, you guys have a great day, great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.